Fox 2 presents Hancock and Kelley.
And good Sunday morning. Welcome to Hancock and Kelley on Fox 2, where we take on the top issues of the week. On the right is John Hancock.
Top of the morning.
On the left, Michael Kelley.
Happy Sunday.
And I'm Andy Banker. On the agenda, we are inside a month now from the Missouri primaries. The ad war over Amendment 5, the proposal to eliminate the state income tax, is raging. And we get our first hint at just how much state sales taxes will jump if it raises. In a city starving for population growth and economic development, are St. Louis aldermen about to adopt a de facto ban on large data centers? FIFA lays a red card on a top U.S. soccer player in the World Cup. President Trump plays a card of his own, followed by backlash and then defeat for Team USA. And in our quote of the week, the Democratic Party's lean towards socialism is apparently spreading in St. Louis. Also, Air Parson, former Missouri Governor Mike Parson, has some explaining to do about all the flying around he was doing as governor. But we begin with Amendment 5, the proposal to eliminate Missouri's state income tax, to be decided by voters in a little more than 3 weeks.
If you are voting yes on August 4th, please tell your friends and neighbors and family how important this issue is.
I strongly believe that most voters will find it in their best interest to vote no on Amendment 5.
The debate has fanned out now far beyond the Missouri Capitol with a series of pro-Amendment 5 town hall meetings across the St. Louis area in recent days, and an absolute saturation of the airwaves in the Amendment 5 ad war.
Amendment 5 opens your family to being hurt by new taxes on services.
Missouri state income tax is just under 5% right now. The proposal to eliminate it is the top issue before voters in the upcoming August 4th primary elections. It would largely be replaced by higher state sales taxes. And the Missouri State Auditor, Republican Scott Fitzpatrick, gave us our first hint at just how much those sales taxes might jump if Amendment 5 passes. In an interview with the Millsap in the Morning podcast in Lebanon, Missouri, he said, "We're currently at a 4.225% state sales tax rate. I think you probably have to go up to about 7% to do this, eliminating the state income tax, which is the same thing as they did in Tennessee, with no sales taxes in Missouri on health care, agriculture, or real estate as a result of Amendment 5 passing, at least according to Fitzpatrick, who also endorsed this." So Michael and John, we're talking about 28 cents more on a $10 purchase.
Well,
$2.80 on a $100 purchase. Is that worth getting rid of the income tax?
Millions and millions of dollars being paid for by billionaires to put this on there because this is a tax grab for them. It has some serious consequences. We, the regular people out here, have to wait to see what those geniuses in Jefferson City are going to do for us, because there is no proposal to change this. Auditor Fitzpatrick is just speculating that they may have to raise sales taxes that much. They're going to raise taxes on everything, Andy, so that millionaires and billionaires in Missouri can get a tax break and seniors and old folks pay more.
Is he right about that?
Of course not. If I give you $5 and you give me $3, I come out ahead on that deal. I make that deal every day. I'll give you $5 and you come out ahead on that.
I come out ahead on that.
Yeah, if I give you $5 and you give me $3 and you come out ahead on that, that's exactly what this is. You're getting a 5% reduction of income tax. It's taxes every dollar you earn. Your sales tax is going to go up 2.8%. The taxpayer comes out ahead, plus a whole lot of non-Missourians are going to be paying the sales tax when you factor in tourism, hotel, motel, taxes on data centers, and so it's a net benefit. Plus, every state that's eliminated the income tax has seen economic growth.
So if I go to Schnucks or Deerberg's, I got a $100 grocery bill, which is these days is a couple of bags of chips. But anyway, if you spend $100 at the grocery store, you're going to spend an extra $280 because of Amendment 5 passing, and that's going to be it?
Yeah.
No, they're going to have to raise fees elsewhere, and who knows where this is going to be. Sales tax in the city of St. Louis is already up over 10, 15%. We're looking at sales taxes that could be 20%. This is obscene. It's ridiculous. It's a grab by the rich.
You come out ahead. Every taxpayer comes out ahead.
Former Missouri Governor Mike Parson's legacy may be getting tainted a bit by revelations that he spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxpayer funds on flights with no record of why those flights were needed. Parson became governor when Eric Greitens resigned. He was then reelected. The news about the flights come from State Auditor Scott Fitzpatrick's closeout audit of Parson's time in office. The audit flags 58 flights specifically with no identifiable state purpose. A trip to Texas to watch Missouri play in the Cotton Bowl with spouses of his chief of staff and deputy chief of staff, not allowed. Frequent stops in Bolivar, his hometown, and flights around the state for his book tour. Parson denies any wrongdoing or anything unethical here, John. Should Republicans be calling him out for this, including the current governor?
You know, the governor flies the plane. Right, and it's every governor's done it. We used to make a big deal out of Jay Nixon flying the plane. Remember that back in the day?
I do.
And but every governor flies the plane, and I just don't think this is that big of a deal.
Okay, so we're
Not
asking.
a big deal.
Yeah, well, it really.
If it was a Democrat governor, would it be a big deal?
I personally think that all of our elected officials, statewide governors, should be flown by a state plane. But that's not the standard the Republicans put in place. And in fact, they've stopped the legislature in the past when Democrats were using that plane. Now, the same people we're going to leave to figure out this tax situation have silence as it relates to Republicans abusing the use of the plane. At the end of the day, it is common sense that a plane should be flied, that the governor should be in a state plane for everything.
Yeah, I heard that chuckle snort over here. What was that about?
Well, I mean, the governor flies the plane.
After decades of open platforms allowing virtually anyone to board Metrolink trains, new security gates now require tickets to get through and actually get onto a train. The upgrades went online at 13 stations this past week. They will go online at 13 more in the coming days and eventually at all 38 Metrolink stops. It's a $52 million project, ironically coming to fruition hours after 4 people were shot, 2 of them killed, near a North County Metrolink station, Michael.
Yeah.
It didn't happen on the platform there.
No. And security on Metrolink has been a problem, and I think this is a huge step in the right direction. It is an absolute shame that we've spent this much money and we're just finally getting to having this type of a system. I'm glad we've gotten there. It needs to be expedited. We've got to make these trains safe. Cities that move forward have effective and useful public transportation. We need this train to work.
How big of a difference can this make?
I don't know. How long have we had Metrolink? 30 years, something like that?
Yeah, I think since
And we're just now getting around to putting tickets in place? I mean,
Well, you had to have tickets, but it was honor system.
The honor system. Right. Well, I mean, the honor system in this society probably doesn't get you much, right? So I'm shocked it's taken this long to have a ticketing system in place.
But that said,
yeah.
How big of a difference can this make?
I hope
there's still issues in the New York subways, in the metro in D.C., and anywhere else they have it.
Right.
The L in Chicago.
Right.
But more people do use it and feel safer if you have to go through a gate and scan your ticket to have the thing open up to where you can even get onto the train.
Yeah, it's a step
Doesn't
in the
that
right
matter?
step in the right direction.
Total step in the right direction. We need public transportation to work in this town, and we've always kind of eschewed it. I think this is a step in the right direction. It's got to work.
Environmentalists claim victory in the city of St. Louis's data center debate. An aldermanic committee approves what critics call a de facto ban of large data centers in the city, voting 6-0 to advance Board Bill 49, which addresses issues like water usage, energy usage, and noise. The restrictions follow backlash after aldermen approved a large-scale data center at the former Famous Bar Warehouse next to the Armory site in Midtown, with no restrictions in place for that. Developers say the data center there in Midtown will generate nearly $300 million in new tax revenue for the city and the city's public school district, and that's just over the first 10 years. Still, there are opponents appealing to try to stop that one, and at the heart of Board Bill 49 are requirements for any future large-scale data centers. That one, they have 25% of their power from renewable energy sources just to begin operation. That requirement goes up to 50% renewable energy sources by year 5 of operation, 100% by year 10.
And with the current administration in office now, there is not a financial incentive for renewable energy. So I think it's a terrible public policy to make a requirement that's not possible to satisfy. think anybody would agree with that.
On average, it takes about 18 months for new wind generation to be built, and 6 to 15 months for new solar to be built, and that's utility scale solar. Elsewhere, we're seeing data centers taking 3 to 6 years to come online. So the requirements as they're laid out in the bill are absolutely achievable.
So it sounds like the city's all behind it as long as you can run it with solar panels and windmills.
Things are
The
going
mayor
so
supports
swimmingly in the city of St. Louis, they've decided to put up a sign that says, no business or taxpayers, job creators necessary. That's what we're doing here. I don't know why you put barriers up to stuff that hasn't even been proposed. These are unrealistic expectations. This is St. Louis just saying, we don't want future taxpayers and job creators to come here. Is this the reality of the city we live in, that things are going so great we don't need these people to come?
Is this a de facto ban? And is it the best thing for the city, for the region?
So I hate to use jargon here, but economically, this kind of approach is something we call dumb. And, it's not like businesses are breaking the doors down to set up shop in St. Louis City right now. And here's the thing, it's going to produce $30 million a year. We're talking about the famous bar facility. Hopefully it goes through. But why would you slam the door shut to bring more of these things? And this is the future of the economy, like it or not. And if you let it pass it by, what else is going to pass us by?
And to blindly say no to something before it's even proposed is so short-sighted and stupid, along with dumb.
Up next, the former mayor of Baltimore praises the city of St. Louis. Are we missing a turnaround happening right before our very eyes? And spending Stan Kroenke's millions, St. Louis aldermen finalized a plan to do just that. But can the city be trusted with all that dough?
To hear more, listen to the podcast. Just search for Hancock and Kelley.
If you remember, the issues of plowing snow, filling potholes, picking up the garbage led to a new mayor being elected in St. Louis last year. Well, the man who helped engineer a turnaround in city services for Baltimore more than 2 decades ago says St. Louis Mayor Kara Spencer is doing the same thing here. Former Baltimore mayor and Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley is considered the godfather of using data to improve city services and change the narrative for failing cities. He met with Spencer at City Hall this past week to preview the city's new data tracking system called CityStat and give his input. The city of St. Louis now posts new data every 3 months about how well city crews are doing taking care of services from public health, water, and garbage pickup to filling those potholes.
If you make 1% progress every 2 weeks for your city, that starts to compound. And as people see their city becoming cleaner and better, and their city government becoming more responsive, that fuels the trust necessary to do the larger and bigger things.
What we'd love to get is where we can roll a trash pothole crew down a street, and they were there to fill this one, but there are 3 other potholes on the way, and we're going to get those while we're at it. That's the most efficient way that we'll eventually get to.
St. Louis launched CityStat in March. The numbers are better, but not great so far. Take tree and brush removal, for example. More than half of the time, crews still fail to meet the goal of addressing and clearing hazards within 30 days, but they are up to a 42% clearance rate from just 10% 2 years ago. And CityStat shows 91% of residential potholes being filled within 8 days now. That was 2%, as low as 2%. A couple of years ago. Is this the mayor's sweet spot politically? She's taken some hits with the battles with the police board and everything else.
Well, this is what the voters want. This is what I want as a city resident, is us to do the basics. Clearly, they've got a long way to go to be able to meet those needs, and whether or not the city has the capabilities to address all the problems, I don't know. The fact that they're focusing on it, awesome. About time.
John? And it's all there for everyone to see.
Yeah.
I mean,
I love
this.
this.
The city department, you got to come in and give your numbers, and they're putting them online.
I love the transparency. This is great. Although I did hit one of the 9% of the potholes that are still left the other day. But it's a step in the right direction. I think the other stat that people need to focus on is the crime statistics in the city of St. Louis, and those are going down. If you get a city that's able to function and provide services, and you get public safety where people begin to see it and feel it and believe it, now you've got something going.
Well, this may be a test of the level of trust. The St. Louis Board of Aldermen has given final approval to a plan for spending the city's share of the Rams NFL settlement, more than $250 million. It's been nearly 5 years since Rams owner Stan Kroenke and the NFL agreed to pay $790 million total to St. Louis interests over the Rams' 2016 move back to Los Angeles. The city's spending plan divvies up the city's $255 million share, with more than half of it going to rebuild tornado-stricken North St. Louis, and $55 million for downtown initiatives, about $40 million going to the falling apart water system in the city of St. Louis, the infrastructure. Along with this news, though, came a reminder of the city's poor track record in getting results from large sums of money. Former building inspector Banjo Papula pleaded guilty in federal court to using more than $1.6 million in ARPA and neighborhood revitalization funds for new vehicles, his wedding in Hawaii, gambling, mortgage payments, and travel. A couple of years ago, news media, including Fox 2, discovered that millions more in ARPA funds were about to be awarded for fraudulent projects. Oh, there's the old proposed Rams stadium on the on the riverfront that was aimed to keep Kroenke and the Rams here. But is this spending plan a good one, and should St. Louisans trust city leaders with carrying it out?
Well, I wouldn't trust Banjo Papula, I'll tell you that. But at least Banjo, when he's stealing real money. You remember the alderman got thrown in the clink a couple of years ago for taking a $2,500 car.
Yeah.
And Banjo was professional at least. Look, this is probably the best you're going to get out of this group in City Hall. I wish more money was spent downtown. I hope the money that they're spending, the $55 million, I hope it's spent wisely, and I hope it attracts additional investment.
Yeah, ditto. The other concern that I have, Andy, is that when we say just so much of this money is going to go to the north side, so much is going to go, I want to know specifically what it's going to do and what accountability measures they're going to have. The track record in the city isn't great when large sums of money like this are being handed out, so I don't think it's wrong for people to have a bit of a skeptical eye.
Are we getting the money back from Banjo on this deal?
I think restitution is probably part of it, but whether he's actually ever going to be able to.
I have all 5 strings on that thing.
Still to come on Hancock and Kelley, our quote of the week, our democratic socialists taking root in St. Louis. Also, President Trump lays a trump card with FIFA's president. Our quote of the week is from St. Louis Board of Aldermen President Megan Green, who's leaning into the Democratic Party's drift toward the Democratic Socialist movement. The wave began with the election of Democratic Socialist New York Mayor Zoran Mamdani. It continued last month as he celebrated primary victories for 3 Democratic Socialist candidates likely headed to Congress now. Candidates who accuse Israel of genocide in Gaza and have called for things like immigrations and customs enforcement to be abolished in the United States and all criminals to be freed from U.S. prisons. In a Facebook post, Green celebrated the number of registered Democratic Socialists of America, or DSA, members in St. Louis, surpassing the number 800, saying, quote, labeling DSA as far left says more about how scared those benefiting from the current system are that the current system might change than it does about DSA itself, and that many of the policies championed by DSA would fit comfortably within the tradition of Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal or Lyndon Johnson's Great Society. Michael.
Well, first of all, the socialists and the movement that exists in New York City it's pretty unique to New York City. That's a city that has resources and a large ability to do stuff. Megan Green wants to bring this thought process to St. Louis, where they can't put up stop signs and pave the roads. I don't think so at all, and I wish she'd go and start her own party. If she's so excited, all 800 of them ought not be Democrats. They ought to be socialists and run as that.
Is this good or bad for Republicans, the rise of...
Well, it doesn't matter in the city of St. Louis, but I think generally speaking, the fact that the Democratic Party is becoming socialist, yeah, I think that helps Republicans. Look, they want to empty out the prisons. That's a great idea. They want to defund the police. That's another one. And socialism, as an economic system, has worked nowhere. Nowhere.
Final thoughts are next. First, St. Louis may not be a host city with the World Cup being played in the U.S., but boy, it sure has felt like it at times, right? Check out this crowded Ballpark Village. Our final thought is about President Trump flexing a little muscle and getting a player reinstated for the United States men's team in World Cup soccer after he got a red card. Quickly.
I don't have a problem with it. I mean, I think, you know, we got Balaban and whatever his name is.
Balogun?
Prilosek, the other guy. But they didn't play very well, Andy.
Wouldn't people think it was cool if Obama did it?
No, people don't want their president involved in politics or their fast food or everything else.
Sports,
this
they
guy
want him
gets
involved
on.
in politics.
Reflecting pools, go away. We're exhausted with this guy.
Remember, if it's Sunday in St. Louis, it's Hancock and Kelley on Fox 2. We'll see you next week.